to have it so I can reissue it. So yeah, I'll just reissue it.
Okay, thank you so much.
No worries.
Okay, I see a couple people just connecting. Okay, why don't we call the meeting to order at 7:02. We'll get started right away with approval of the minutes. Now, I know a lot of, I think I sent out the minutes and some of you weren't there, but anybody see any changes that needed from last month's minutes? Any comments? Any objection to approving the minutes? Okay, seeing none, I approve the minutes by unanimous consent. And we'll get right into this. Superintendent is in a meeting with, as well as a few of our members for the DEI interviews. So we're going to go right to Tricia for our BOE rep.
Hello, everybody. I'm trying to think of the last time we were at a meeting for PTA council, because our last Board of Ed meeting, it was a very long meeting, and there was policy that we went over in depth. There was, we talked about when the superintendent presented, we talked about, kids coming back to school. We talked about the district improvement plan that they're working on right now. I'm not a part of that committee. I know it'll eventually come in front of us to be approved. There was lots of, God, it was such a long meeting. And the funny thing is we meet even before that meeting. So we're actually together from like 6 o'clock to midnight. So just, don't make me make decisions at 11 o'clock when I'm tired and hungry. I think I don't have it in front of me, but I think the meeting even opened. We were talking about athletics. They came, the two athletic directors came and gave a presentation on, it's like a waterfall plan. They talk about what their budget will look like for the year, what they hope to spend. And the Board of Ed members had a lot of questions. There were parents that came out to speak about uniforms. I'm friends. I grew up with Dylan Connor, so we've been in conversations about the athletic fields. That was sort of mentioned. It definitely was that Dylan Connor had come and given a presentation with the Fairfield Athletic Foundation to the finance committee meeting, but not to the full board yet. And so when it was time for the finance committee to give an update, they briefly discussed it. But I'm sure all of the Board of Ed members are keeping up on that. Some have signed the petition that he has going around. And, all of our kids play on these fields. We're not ignorant to what's going on. I'm trying to think if there's something that I should go in depth about. I know some of you are at the meetings, and many of you watch them. If there's any questions you have that I can answer, I'm here for that, and you can always reach out to me. If there's anything you want me to touch on. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, thanks, Tricia. Thanks for the report, and make sure that all your new members use her as a resource. She's here every month, same time, same place, and you can direct your questions to her at every meeting. I see a lot of new faces, and I see a lot of people that have been here last year. I'd love to go around and introduce us, but I think that forum will be better next week or next month at our next month's meeting, when we try to get together and have a roundtable discussion, sort of like a retreat that'll be held at the Board of Education room. But I will right now switch to Katie, who's going to give us kind of an overview of what we hope, the structure of how we hope to operate this year with all of your help. Go ahead, Katie.
Hi there. I'll introduce myself quickly. My name is Katie Flynn. Oh, and there's one of my children in the background. I am president-elect this year. I am currently the president at North Stratfield Elementary School. I have 3 children. My oldest is 9 and my youngest twins are first graders. So I'm kind of in the depths of elementary school. I have been a PTA rep as well as a Board of Ed rep for North Stratfield for the past 5 years. So last year, Steve and the entire executive board of PTAC really saw a big overhaul. Long story short, the funding mechanism of PTAC used to be our elementary school picture fundraiser. And that was becoming unsustainable for a host of reasons that were discussed multiple times last year. But we are in the process of really rethinking and reimagining the PTA Council in Fairfield. And last year, as we were doing that, the 3 words that kind of kept coming up over and over were connection, collaboration, and innovation. And I kept saying to Steve that there was a real misconception, at least in the population that I was interacting with, about what PTA Council was. And there was a belief that I always use like my hands when I describe this, that PTA Council was up here and then it was kind of a pyramid down, and that we were in charge, or that there was a power dynamic there, when in actuality, it's the complete opposite. The PTA Council is a function of our 17 PTA units, as well as our broader community and our children. So, you know, in looking forward to the future, we really wanted to, like I said, reimagine. So those, you know, when we talk about connection, we have 17 PTAs, we have 11 elementary schools, we have 3 middle schools, 2 high schools, 2 locations of our ECC, and Walter Fitzgerald, our alternative high school. So we are a broad and unique and amazing district. And I say all the time, the thing that drew me to Fairfield was the neighborhood school model. It's still what keeps me passionate, I think, the most, is the uniqueness of our schools. But what I do think happens quite often in Fairfield is that it separates us, and it kind of puts all of our PTAs on little islands, and we're all really doing a lot of the same thing. So our connection is, we hope that we can bring not only all of our PTAs together, but, you know, in consultation with that, our communities, our community organizations, like the wonderful work of Fairfield Cares and FAY, and I could go on and on and on, Fairfield Athletic Foundation. Like, there's opportunities for so many organizations. And the next step of that, when we talk about collaborating, you know, we really see that, you know, coming together in terms of sharing our ideas, sharing support, sharing resources. You know, we see things like author visits and performing arts things that have really, for a host of reasons, kind of either fallen away during COVID, fallen away because of lack of fundraising, fallen away because of lack of membership. And we really see an opportunity for more shared, you know, resources for things like that. You know, an author visit between 6 schools or all 11 elementary schools all of a sudden becomes a much more enticing and affordable prospect. So, you know, when we talk about collaboration, we also talk about collaboration in terms of being a leadership role. And, you know, PTAC has always really been a hub for advocacy for our children, for our school budgets, for our wonderful organizations like Operation Hope, and the list goes on and on. So we really see collaborating as a big piece, and then innovating. I mean, I think COVID really forced all of our PTAs to kind of take all those innovative ideas that we had, but not really had the time to do. Last year, all of a sudden we were like, all right, let's do them. Let's, you know, go paperless. Let's move on to membership toolkit. Let's move on to membership hub. So we hope that we can help, you know, share those resources and continue. So in culmination of that, our next meeting in October, on October 18th, is planned to be a retreat at the Board of Education, as Steve laid out. And we really hope you'll all save the date for that. This week, I'll be sending out a Google form to all of our PTA presidents to kind of give some outlines of things that you want to discuss, leave open places for questions. But really what I think will come out of that retreat is, forming kind of an objective. I think PTAC has had a solid mission statement since it was formed I think it's 1968, if my year is right from Google. But I think that we can really reinvent what we want PTAC to be with all of your help, because our PTAs they are PTAC. There's no PTAC without our PTAs. So we really look forward to the retreat. I will say the invitations will be going to the reps and the PTA presidents. I highly encourage, if you have fundraising chairs or treasurers or any members, it doesn't have to be executive board, that you think could benefit or would be a good member to send on your behalf, please send them. Steve and I said, I think we have a capacity up to fit. I'll double check the capacity, but we would love to have as many people as possible. But if anyone has any questions or things they'd like to see at the retreat, I think that's my little spiel. Oh, you're on mute, Steve.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, Katie nailed it, and we've been thinking about this for quite some time, and especially that what you just touched on about inviting your membership chairs. We find that with 17 PTAs, we have 17 different membership fees across town. We have different ways that people raise funds. There are opportunities where we could work together and hold these things together, or work off each other, or work together. I mean, there's really, I can't see a reason to have 17 Board of Ed reps when at PTAC we could send 2 or 3 each month, and that they could report to all the PTAC reps or the PTA presidents on what's going on. And then that way we could save our resources, because volunteers are really hard to come by. And these are kind of ideas just off the top of my head that we want to touch on at the retreat next month. So we would love to hear your ideas and ways that you think, questions that you might have for other PTAs. This is going to be your meeting to bandy about ideas or questions, or any kind of thing that you think that you need help with, or you think you could help another PTA with. So like Katie said, there's a paradigm where people would think that we were the ones dictating to you, but it's actually we're the people that sit in the offices of or in the positions at PTAC take what you tell us to do and try to help coordinate all your wishes. And so we are all PTAC. Does anybody have any questions? I know we kind of, we worked on this all last year, and every year it was something that we refined and developed till we passed our budget at the end of the year. But I was wondering, for people who are new, are there any misconceptions that you had, or any questions regarding the position that you were either thrust into or volunteered for? Oh, yes, go ahead, Jamie.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm Jamie Braden. I'm relatively new to the PTAC meetings. I'm the president of the PTA at Riverfield Elementary School. And Katie, so much of what you just mentioned really resonates with me and my board, especially this year. A lot of the planning and setting up for the year that we noticed at Riverfield regarding getting our website up and running, rolling over families in the system. There's a lot of learning that I feel like occurs where we reinvent the wheel over and over again. And I'm really sort of like delighted to hear about the retreat, because I think there's a lot of synergies that we have amongst the different elementary schools, at least, and middle schools, that we could use in our favor to kind of help us not reinvent the wheel, but make some of these tasks a bit more simplified. And there's, and there's just there's so many like great topics that I feel like would be so wonderful to the retreat. The other item I wanted to mention was, I don't know if anybody was on the CT PTA symposium this weekend, but there were so many fascinating topics around diversity and inclusion and what so many other schools in the state are doing. And I went to my principal and had said, how can the PTA support you in this way? And I feel like there's such a great conversation around that to be had amongst at least the different elementary schools, and how some of the things we could work together and get some great ideas. Excuse me, I'm sorry, my children are in. One moment,
I
sweetheart.
get it, Jamie.
I'm sorry. I'm making dinner, 3 kids, and I just, the other item the last item I had wanted to mention is the topic of micro volunteering, which is something that might sound appealing to sort of attract volunteers at our school. And I'd love to hear from other elementary schools on what they use. I apologize. What tactics and ideas that they use in terms of like micro volunteering that we could share with each other to attract more parent and community volunteers. Sorry, so those are just like the 3 big topics that I thought would be great to have at the retreat.
Jamie, it's funny, I was on the symposium this weekend as well, and literally I was just pulling up my notes as you mentioned it, and right in there was DEI. And we have Jennifer Elwood, who isn't here tonight because she's currently in the interview meeting for the new DEI position. Jennifer Jenkins is wonderfully here, going to give an update for her shortly. But there's just so many things that are happening in coordination with each other. But like I said, the island thing always sits out to me, and even an island in terms of a PTA in your own community. Like I said, I have been a Board of Ed rep for 5 years. I've been a PTA council rep for 5 years. I am pretty heavily engaged in my own community. We did a membership drive this year with some incentives. And as a part of that this is kind of an anecdotal to why I think the retreat will be important. As a part of that membership drive, we've been doing like membership facts this week. And one of my facts was, you don't have to volunteer or come to meetings to be a member of the PTA. I can't tell you how many people reach out to me and they were like, what? I was like, no, you can, we want you to, like you said. Also, that they didn't know they had to sign up yearly. They thought it was annual. They thought that they signed up once and it was done. And I was like, oh, well, that's not, just kind of displacing these very simple things that I think people, Steve and I had talked about this at length last year. The landscape of volunteers in the past 20 years is just different. We have so many 2 working family households. What it looked like, it's constantly evolving and changing. And that means that we have to evolve and change. And that can be hard because, the uniqueness of our PTAs and our events are really what we love. And we want to see those. So it's how do we shift and how do we come together to kind of achieve the same endpoint, but get there together, maybe in a more simplified way. So I'm really excited for the retreat. Thank you, Jamie. And that's the exact kind of things we're going to be discussing.
Hi, it's Court. Oh,
ahead,
sorry,
Courtney.
Steve. It's Courtney. I'm longtime PTA involvement at the school level, new to PTAC, but I just want to thank you all for bringing me in. And I think there is, like, in my experience in working with programming in the middle school and high school, I just think there's so much opportunity for collaboration and sharing of resources. And I'm just really, although I'm kind of nearing the end of my time with Fairfield Public Schools, I am really glad to hear that this is a priority. And I look forward to discussing all of this with everyone at the retreat next month. So thank you.
Thanks, Courtney. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Christine. Hi.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christine Vitale for those of you who don't know me, I am the current chair of the Board of Ed, but prior to that, I am a longtime PTA volunteer. I was sat on the PTA Council Board and was PTA president at the Fairfield Level High School and Roger Little Middle School, and probably held every PTA position available in the course of the 20 years of my kids being in school. So I first of all want to thank you all for being here tonight and for all that you do for our schools. I can't say it enough. I appreciate how valuable PTAs are to just enriching the lives of our kids and of our school communities. So I wanted to thank you. And also just to piggyback on what Katie said in terms of collaboration, some unsolicited advice. If you haven't already done so, created a group text chain with your fellow elementary school presidents or your fellow middle school presidents or your high school, I would suggest doing that because I can't begin to tell you the amount of just support, in the course of a school year, things that come up, just having somebody else to reach out to informally, just to brainstorm with or vent to or rely on was a real valuable resource to me in my years as a PTA president, and really was able to do a lot of just interesting things in terms of collaborating, not only with ideas, but also with funding. So I'm really excited that you guys are meeting and having this retreat next week, 2 weeks, next week?
Next month.
Next month. And want you to know that I'm here for a resource for you, both as a Board of Ed chair and also just as a past PTA person. So thanks for letting me speak. And I know that Trish, she is the board representative for PTA Council. So I didn't want to, take her place when she reported on the Board of Ed, but I want to thank her for representing and just know that I'm here for you as well. So thanks for the time.
Thanks, Christine. Any other comments that we have? I would like to ask one thing is we still haven't got all the PTAC reps emails. So, I mean, you might not have them in place yet, but if you could forward those to us, we just would like to send them invitations to the retreat. And if you also would like to send any other emails, each PTA has 2 voting members. Traditionally, it's the president and the PTA council representative, but it could be 2 PTA council representatives if that works better for your PTA. Another thing is Katie had touched upon membership toolkit or member hub. I mean, that's a perfect example of where we could share our experiences with. I know people have had great successes with both, but when she touched upon that, she talked about going paperless. And last year, everybody was kind of forced to go paperless and did a pretty good job at it. We, central office was closed for making copies, and it is open again. But we have, as we made our budget for last year, all the, you are now responsible for your own copies instead of going into one big pool that PTAC would be paying for. So you will be getting we'll send out more information on that, or at least go over it at our retreat on the cost. It's like 5/100ths of a cent per copy, or 5/1000ths of a cent. No, 5/100ths of 0.0052.
0052
Right.
a copy.
A
Well,
copy.
like you said, we'll get the information.
And you'll all have your own codes, and you can go in and you'll receive a bill from central office individually for that. But really, we encourage you to go paperless. That's something we've been striving for a long time, and it was nice to have that little push last year to get us all used to it. Let's see, Katie, am I forgetting anything that we need to talk about?
I think that's all I have. And like I said, I think the main thing too is just, I think the biggest fear sometimes with sharing PTA information is that it's going to, take something away from your PTA or lose, a unique event. And I really think that's absolutely the opposite. I think we're so, I've been so in awe of like the work last year of our elementary schools, who I obviously dealt with pretty in-depthly, of, you know, our middle school events, our high school parents and PTAs who just did such beautiful work to, you know, ensure that our kids got what they needed during such a trying time. I can't imagine what this group of parents can do during during precedented times, I will say. So we really look forward to, you know, this year getting going, and, you know, hopefully next year really, you know, kicking it off even more. But thank you, Steve, for giving us this forum. And really, thank you, Steve, for sticking around. I mean, Steve has been an immense resource. Christine is here. I can't tell you what mentor, like I said, my oldest is in 4th grade. So the mentors of our, you know, our high school parents and our past parents have just been invaluable. So I want to thank them all. Just personally myself.
Thank you. Okay, then we're going to move on, and filling in for Jen Elwood tonight is Jennifer Jenkins on the Equity Committee.
Good evening, everyone. And yes, I'm filling in for Jennifer Elwood because she is part of the interview committee for the new DEI administrator position. So hearing Jamie talk about wanting to do some sort of equity initiative was great, because we have something that's going on. We have a big focus for parents. The National PTA is attempting to give the local PTAs tools to diversify the PTA. So there's already a cohort of parents who are involved, and I'm one of those parents. Some PTA veterans, some new to the organization. The focus is exploring all the parts of the school community, making connections, building relationships. So far, we have 6 schools who are participating: McKinley, Burr, Tomlinson, Roger Ludlow Middle School, Roger Ludlow High School, Ward High School, and we would love to get more people involved, more schools involved, and volunteers. Our first step is that we're connecting with the PTA presidents and the principals to establish next steps for each school. And we're looking forward to letting you know how that evolves. As for the high schools, Fairfield Ward High School is doing something exciting through the Anti-Defamation League. They are doing a program called No Place for Hate. It requires several school-wide student-guided projects throughout the year in order to receive the designation, and they must be recertified year after year. One big project that's coming up in November is called Names Can Really Hurt Us. And so I have a link to that program if you want to know more about it, that I will put in the chat. Roger Ludlow High School began the year with a pronouns activity to help students define how they want to be referred to. And we received positive reports from staff and students on that project. As for the district improvement plan that's being led by the superintendent, if you don't know what that is, it's a large committee of stakeholders, including several parents from the PTA DEI cohort, setting the goals that will guide and shape the district from 2022 to 2027. Diversity, equity, inclusion are being talked about as a standalone topic, as well as woven throughout each part of the plan. And it's really exciting to be applying this lens to our thinking. Some other exciting equity projects that are coming up: Fairfield University Art Museum. They have a set of exhibits focusing on racial injustice and the power of Black and Latino culture and leaders. They are collaborating with students, teachers, community members for meaningful ways to engage with these exhibits. I will also put a link to this exciting exhibit in the chat. Our student equity groups, the Beloved Community and our high school equity groups will all resume meetings for this year. And Inclusive Parents, which is a group that I'm a part of, along with Jennifer Elwood, is in talks with Sacred Heart University Community Theater for some exciting equity collaborations. If you have any questions, I will try to answer them. And if I don't know the answer, I will definitely refer them to Jennifer. But if your school is interested in participating in the the PTA equity projects, which is really just a way to kind of reach out and get a more, just to get a more diverse member base, more people involved. Please reach out to either Jennifer Elwood or myself. I'll put my email address in the chat as well.
Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions for Jennifer? You guys have a busy summer. Oh, go ahead, Hannah.
Excuse me, hi. Jennifer, could you just mention the SHU partnership again for a second? I missed that, what that actually entails.
Well, that is, I do not have a lot of details on that yet. But I believe that the person who is heading up the SHU Community Theater has been collaborating with Carrie Langerman, and they are talking about, perhaps a film that, would be centered around equity and inclusion. But we don't have a lot more details yet, but we will be happy to share those with you as the project evolves.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jennifer? So you guys can, go ahead, Katie.
Not really a question, Jennifer. Thank you for covering how schools can reach out, because I want to make sure ours does as well. But I just wanted to plug in a part of my speech before when I talked about our 17 PTAs. One PTA that I didn't mention that kind of fits into this zone is SEPTA. And if any of you aren't familiar, SEPTA is our special education PTA, which services all students that are under a 504 or an IEP that meet in that zone. And I know we as a PTA try and advertise SEPTA membership. I would encourage everyone to do so. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me and I can send you to the right connections for that. But I know their first meeting is September 29th at Ward High School at 7:30. They'll be following all social distancing and mitigation strategies, but it's a great opportunity to meet their board. And I believe they're going to have administration there as well. But their SEPTA, similar to PTAC, is a really unique and vital organization to our school district. And COVID was tough on everybody, but I would highly encourage PTA presidents to make sure that membership information is included in their communications. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. I know Rainy is in Germany right now, but I thought maybe Kathy might be here. I don't see her, but I thought there's a number down there. I wasn't sure who it was. Okay, so we'll skip and go to Jane.
Hi, everyone.
Jane.
I'm the treasurer for, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm the treasurer for the PTA Council. Last year was a little odd as everything sort of shut down. So we have money, which is usually how I start my part of the meeting. We have money, we have a budget. And as we, I guess, work through the retreat and work through this year, we'll make decisions about how the spending should work, because we do have a chunk of money sitting in the savings account that can go out. I will be sending out dues to all of the PTA soon, if that. Steve. And then the last thing is, if as we talk about copier costs, if anybody has any questions from a budgeting perspective, I have not last year, but the previous year's spend by school for copies. So if you want to get a general idea about what that cost will be to your school, just let me know. That's all I have.
Thanks, Jane. Yeah, we will continue to adapt our new model as things come up that we didn't foresee, and modify the ones that just aren't working the way that we expected. But we'll all do that together, and it's going to be a work in progress. So I'm excited about this year, and I'm so happy that all of you came tonight. The date, if you want to put it down now, is October 18th at 9:30 at the BOE conference room. Does anybody else have anything that they want to add to the meeting tonight? Any questions?
I just typed a question in the chat. Hi, this is Erin Lichtenstein from Stratfield. Can you just repeat what this year's dues are? I want to just reflect that in my notes.
This year's what?
Dues?
Who's, oh, Jane. Oh, you're on mute, Jane.
These have been $150, and we didn't make any change between this year and last year or previous years.
Great, thanks.
No worries.
I'm sorry, just Erin reminded me to look at the chat and I'm seeing if there's anything on here that I missed.
Yes, but I can't click on the chat, Steve, and I can't mute anymore either. So if I have to close my screen, it's because my children are screaming.
Okay, well, I see it's a, Sarah, did you want to bring anything up or did we touch on what you needed to talk about?
That me, Sarah?
Sarah Evans?
Yeah, no, I just had added a comment for Jennifer when she listed the schools that I've been talking with Jennifer Elwood also about trying to do some of the DEI work at Sherman. And so I don't know if Sean Hood, our PTA president, is on the call tonight, but we're working together also. So that's another elementary school that that can be represented, hopefully, and hopefully we can all work together and learn from each other.
Great, thank you.
That's great, Sarah. We do have a Facebook group, so we'll just make sure that we have, everyone invited. That was the list that I was given, and I thought that there were more schools, and hopefully we can get, all of the elementary schools involved. So thank you. I'm so glad that you're going to be involved.
Yep.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Second by Katie. Any objections? Okay, we're adjourning at 7:39 by unanimous consent. Thank you so much for coming. Please bring all your questions and your other members who can help add to the discussion. And Hannah, I love your background. I just dropped my daughter off as she's a freshman in Syracuse this year.
Oh, nice. Congratulations to her. I hope she loves it as much as I did.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank
We'll see you in
Thanks.
October. Any questions in the meantime, just, shoot us an email.
Thanks,
Have a good
Steve.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.